Good morning. It is Friday, the 26th of January. I'm Ron. Welcome to Storytime. And good morning. This is a Storytime Extra. And today, the subject is Donald Trump, the accidental president. There is a lot of theories about how Donald Trump became president of the United States. Suffice it to say that everybody is probably, even a year later, still stunned at the idea that Donald Trump is the 45th president of the United States. And it was obvious that everybody was stunned that he was doing well in the primaries, that he got the nomination, and then again, absolutely flabbergasted when he managed to actually win the election. Some people are saying that it was because the only way he could have won was help from the outside. He cheated in some way, shape, or form, i.e., collusion with the Russians. Other people just give up on the electorate and figure that the Americans are so misogynistic that they won't vote for a woman for president under any circumstances, and that they'd rather vote for a complete neophyte than vote for an otherwise qualified woman for president. And I think both of those theories are absolutely and completely wrong. What I think is that this was a trick or a trick by the Republican Party, and it was designed to. He was supposed to be a stalking horse. He was invited into the race, I believe, by the Republican Party to help the Republican Party pass amnesty. That's why I think he was supposed to get in the party. What happened then is that the whole situation went terribly wrong. His poll numbers were too high for him to exit the race, and he ended up getting the nomination and then, of course, getting the victory. And the reason I think that Donald Trump basically backed into the presidency was a little bit because of who he is and because of history. When you look at Donald Trump in politics, the first time we see him running for office is in 2012. He runs for president. He stays in the race for a few weeks, and then he disappears. The next time we see him is in 2018. And when he gets into the race and eventually wins, of course. But in both cases, the 2012 and 2018, Donald Trump doesn't lay any groundwork. He doesn't do any exploratory committees. He doesn't do all of the things that a politician that is serious about winning a political race normally does. He doesn't spend a lot of time doing interviews on television or on the radio. He doesn't go out and, in whatever ways he possibly can, perhaps on the radio or television, expound on his political viewpoints and where he stands on the various issues. He just shows up, and in the case of 2012, disappears, and in 2018 shows up and ends up becoming the president of the United States. In 2012, I believe that Donald Trump was enticed to come into the race. Probably the Republican Party made some sort of a deal with him and asked him to come in for the purpose of getting rid of a particular political issue that was detrimental to the Republican Party. And that issue was the birth certificate of the President of the United States, Barack Obama. At this time in 2012, the whole Republican Party and all Republicans were getting tarred with the brush that they were birthers. They were kooks. They were nuts, because there was a certain number of the Republican base that insisted that President Barack Obama had no business being president because he wasn't born in this country. They further then demanded that the president produce his birth certificate, which President Obama refused to do, and then they went out and said, this is proof that he has something to hide, and he obviously doesn't belong in the White House. As this birther thing gains ground, and the more and more Republicans are getting, more and more the Republican Party is being tarred with that brush, is being labeled as a bunch of kooks going into the 2012 elections, the Republicans realize they've got a problem. and they have to get rid of this birther issue. There's not much a way to do it for the politicians themselves. They can't come out and demand that the president produce a birth certificate, because the president of the United States can then just use that demand as a political weapon. And whoever makes those demands will probably end up losing their seat or their next political race. So they need an outsider. They need somebody that's got nothing to lose, that can go ahead and lead the charge, get the president to produce a birth certificate, and get rid of the issue once and for all. Enter the race, Donald Trump. Because again, Donald Trump is not a politician. He has no political future that he has to worry about. So, of course, he comes into the race. His big issue was what? The birth certificate. He makes a big stink out of it and keeps going, making a big stink out of it. Barack Obama, President Obama, realizes that with Donald Trump, since he's not a politician, he can afford to make as big a stink out of this as he wants to, and the pressure then is now going to be on the president to produce the birth certificate and once and for all prove that he is an American citizen by birth. So he goes ahead, the president produces his birth certificate. Donald Trump tells everybody, "I'm satisfied." And I remember that he said that. He tells everyone, "I'm satisfied." So therefore, now the issue is put to bed as far as the Republican Party is concerned, and basically as far as everyone is concerned. The birth certificate has been produced. President Obama has proven that he is a citizen by birth and that he has every right to be in the White House. End of issue. Donald Trump then very quietly leaves the race. 4 years later, 2018, or 8 years later, 2018, Donald Trump is back. And he, no, it would be 6 years later, 2012, 2016, 2018. So, anyways, the point is he's back. He's going to, now he's back again. And the reason he's back is because the Republican Party has another issue that they need to get rid of that is detrimental to the Republican Party, and that's immigration. The Republican Party knows, and anybody that's smart in politics knows, that the only way you can get rid of immigration as an issue is with amnesty. You give the people that are here illegally amnesty, the issue goes away overnight. No more issue. No more issue, no more problem for the Republicans. They can go on to then deal with issues that are beneficial to the party and help them get their members elected to office. Again, they have the same problem as before, as in 2012, when they had the birther issue, which was one of credibility and integrity. In a lot of the rank and file Republicans, conservatives, don't trust members of Congress and do not trust the Republican leadership, thinking that the Republican leadership wants amnesty at any cost, which is more than likely right. So again, they need an outsider, somebody that can champion a bill that they will produce that will be basically an amnesty bill, but they need somebody to sell it to the conservatives, the conservative base, so that they can go ahead then and have a shot at winning the 2018 elections, or not 2018, 2016. I'm sorry, 2012 and 2016. So it was a 4-year difference. Just anyways, so they can win the 2016 elections and go from there. So who do they look to again? Same guy that helped them out 4 years before, Donald Trump. Get Donald Trump to come in. He'll champion the bill. He'll establish himself as the immigration candidate. And once they get the bill passed, again, Donald Trump then fades from the scene and everybody's happy. So Donald Trump gets in. He immediately starts talking about the wall. He starts talking about immigration and gets everybody stirred up about that. One problem: his poll numbers go up. They go way up. He should be, if he's going to exit the race like he did 4 years before, he needs to be somewhere near the bottom. He needs to have very low poll numbers. But his poll numbers are high. As long as his poll numbers are high, he can't get out of the race. And that's frustrating for the Republican Party, maybe even frustrating for Donald Trump himself. So at this point, I believe he started to try to do things to sabotage his own campaign. That's why I think that he started with he made that statement about a woman bleeding from her eyes. I mean, it's the most bizarre statement I've ever heard from any political candidate anywhere. The most bizarre statement I've ever heard from Donald Trump, and that's saying something. And not only that, but then he goes out and attacks other candidates. He seems to deliberately make every political mistake in the book. It's almost as though he is trying to, again, lower his poll numbers. He's trying to sabotage his own campaign, which I believe he was trying to do. And it doesn't work. His followers, his supporters are devoted to him. The closer and closer it gets to the election or the primary election nomination, the Republican Party nomination, the more the Republican Party is getting crazy. They're absolutely going out of their mind. The Weekly Standard won't support him. National Review won't support him. Many Republican pundits won't support him. So he's got a lot of enemies in the Republican Party, but none of that matters. None of that seems to work in terms of driving down his poll numbers so that he can go ahead and exit the race gracefully. His poll numbers remain high. He remains a valuable candidate, and the Republicans are probably going out of their minds trying to figure out, how did this happen? The other thing that was a tip-off for me was the sudden and out of nowhere retirement of John Boehner. And I believe that he retired when he realized, because I think that the signature piece of legislation for John Boehner was going to be amnesty. He wants to get an amnesty bill passed. After that's done, he'll retire from Congress and he can go out on a high note. But I think when John Boehner saw that Donald Trump was not going to be able to get out of the race, and that therefore this whole idea of passing an amnesty bill wasn't going to work, he figured, forget it. I may as well get out right now. So he retires. He gets out of the picture. And Donald Trump, of course, goes on to win the nomination. And now Republicans are absolutely crazy about this because this wasn't supposed to happen. Donald Trump was supposed to pave the way for somebody like Jeb Bush, because then they figured they have with amnesty taken care of, so let's say Jeb Bush as the standard bearer for the Republican Party, they got a shot at the White House. But now, no amnesty, and they've got Donald Trump as their nominee. So they've got to be going out of their minds. Oh my God, this whole thing is backfiring. We're going to end up losing this race to Hillary Clinton. We're not going to win. We're going to end up losing. And you see a lot of people, pundits and otherwise, that are turning their backs on Donald Trump. They're actually coming out and saying they're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Because I think there's probably a lot of people that believed that as bad as they may have thought Hillary was, or as much as they didn't like Hillary Clinton, that she would have been a better president because she had at least the political experience that Donald Trump didn't have. That Donald Trump was a complete neophyte, that he'd showed himself to be rather unpredictable, and those are a couple of qualities you don't really want to see in the President of the United States. Well, of course, we know what ends up happening. He runs a good campaign. She's sick part of the time and having some other problems. But still, even with being sick and whatnot, and the news people get involved, predicting her winning, not so much, I think, as a prediction, but as an affirmation, trying to put a tremendous amount of psychological pressure on the electorate to vote for Hillary Clinton. If they can make it seem as though Hillary is inevitable, maybe those Trump supporters will say, well, yeah, I like Donald Trump, but there's no way he can win, so screw it, I'll just vote for Hillary. And we know that it didn't work. Come November, I remember I got up in the morning and I turned on the radio. Sure enough, Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, an outcome that was unexpected not only by the Democrats, but by the Republicans, and I'm sure by Donald Trump himself. So that's my little story time extra for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to start on the first part of how to think about Vladimir Putin from an article in Imprimis magazine, which is a publication of Hillsdale College. Until tomorrow, thank you very much for joining me, and have a great day.